Welcome to Food and Facilities, an online show for West Coast Industrial Solutions magazine. Our goal is to cultivate knowledge to feed the world by focusing our quarterly trade issues on safety, compliance, and innovation within manufacturing, agriculture, food processing, and food and beverage industries. On this episode, we will be talking about the steps of high-performing teams with Nightingale Resolutions, how food packaging can mitigate risks with Keller and Heckman LLP, and sales and marketing data for agriculture with Agproz. Welcome to Food and Facilities. I'm Tara Sweeney with West Coast Industrial Solutions magazine. Today we will be discussing high-performing teams with Tim Nightingale of Nightingale Resolutions, mitigating risk through food packaging with Natalie Rainer of Keller and Heckman LLP, and agricultural data at your fingertips with Knaak of Agproz. Make sure to subscribe or check out our advertising options on our website at wcismag.com/subscribe or /advertise, and reach out to all of those in agribusiness through manufacturing, food and beverage, food processing, and agriculture. One of our sponsors today is Mannix Consulting, and they are doing a webinar on September 9th about bankruptcy alternatives during the pandemic. It will be 9:30 a.m. to 10:45 a.m., and it is free to attend, and it will be on September 9th. Check out their events page on mannix.com and sign up today. And my first guest will be Tim Nightingale of Nightingale Resolutions, discussing high-performing teams, and he has services for consultation, mediation, facilitation, and conflict resolution training. Tim?
Good morning.
Good morning, Tim. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining, especially when we need to make sure that everybody can cooperate and communicate properly, especially in times like this.
Yeah, of course. So my wife and I launched Nightingale Resolutions in 2016. We both have our master's in peacemaking, which is an unusual master's degree, but essentially the focus is on communication, team building, growth, and inviting solutions to people when they are looking to solve different kinds of issues, or if they're just looking to launch a project. So we both got our masters in that, and we have collectively about 20 years of experience in the field now. And when we launched, what we started doing was working specifically with businesses, and that's what we're here to talk about today a little bit.
So could you give me some parts of the cycle for what makes a high-performing team?
Yeah, of course. I have here, just going to share this flyer. And on the flyer, we have the four steps of a high-performing team. So what I do is I like to work with teams who have already accomplished quite a bit, because then it's easier to begin walking them through this cycle. If you're a team that has had some pretty great outcomes, what that means is that you already respect each other, you already trust each other, you have a pretty good way of making decisions together, and your outcomes reflect that. And so what I like to do is I like to come in and talk about what I call pre-existing positive practices, and then add skills, techniques, and activities on top of that to grow, help that team grow.
And these are some pretty high-level concepts. Do you have some stories that you could tell us that make it a little more digestible?
Yeah, of course. So I was working with one organization, and they were very seasonal. So in the topic of respect, I was working with two managers, and they had different peak seasons. So what that meant is that for each of them, there was, for one of them, February through May, and for the other one, sort of July through August, it was incredibly busy. It was just such a busy time for them, and they would work and work and work, and they'd be so exhausted at the end of that peak season, and they would just want to slow down after that point. And so I invited them to talk about that, and they realized that their peak seasons, because they were at different times, created this sort of really intense period and then sort of like lesser period. And when they would get to that lesser period, they just were kind of like checked out. But as they talked more and more about the different things that cause stress during the peak season, they realized that they actually had the ability to help each other. So what they began to devise was a low stress way for the non-peak season manager to begin helping the other one, so that at the end of that peak season, the first manager wouldn't be so burnt out, and then could offer a little bit of help during the second manager's season. And that way they kind of evened out the workload a little bit, and they didn't have such highs and lows. What they discovered when they did that was that productivity was better, it was easier, and they weren't walking out of that season so burnt out. And so that was all a result of this conversation around respect. How do I respect you during peak season, and how do I respect you during your like slightly slower period of work time?
That's an excellent example, especially for growers or processors that usually work in seasonal fluctuations, to be able to know that, hey, we need to be able to respect each other so we can operate more efficiently during the peak season.
Yeah, and they actually were able to support each other. I mean, they realized, like, hey, peak season's as hard for me as it is for you. And they started talking about, this one simple thing. If you just did this one simple thing, it would help so much. And they realized, hey, I know how to do that because I go through the same thing just 3 months later,
And you have another example for trust or decision making, or?
Yeah, so I kind of have stories in each of the, as we walk through each of these high level concepts. So the one I shared about respect right now, moving to trust, everyone has had such a difficult time with COVID-19. And one of my clients, what it required them to do was they were required to make more decisions in a week about their company than they had made maybe previous to a year. So it was a lot of change in a short amount of time. And when you have that high rate of change in a short amount of time, what that means is not everybody's on the same page about everything. And all the information is not moving out or coming back in. What COVID also meant was that the employees, they were going through their own life struggles, whatever that meant. And so there was created this huge gap. And so my client was saying, this employee is so responsible, communication is usually so good, but I just lost touch with her, and I just don't know what to do. We had to make all these decisions. I think she's upset about them, but I don't know. And I said, well, why don't we sit down and you make a list of all the decisions you had to make? It actually took about 40 minutes. They made that many decisions in a week. And then I asked him, what did that mean for you? So he started talking about what that meant for him. And then I said, do you have any sense of what all these decisions, how they impacted her? And he said, actually, I don't entirely know. I can guess, but I don't know. So I prepped him. I said, why don't you give her a call? And why don't you just tell her, look, things have been really hard for me. These are all the changes we've had to make. And that hasn't been easy either. And I really want to hear how things have been for you. So he called her. He followed the game plan. And when we reconnected, the supervisor and I reconnected a week later, he said, you know what? I just had no idea what she was going through. This has been such a tough, 3 weeks for her. She's really doing her best. I was able to learn some things about her and about the company. And we had to make some adjustments because for our production and everything, so it could be better. So he was able to connect at that level where he could trust her and she could trust him, and they regained some of that momentum that they had lost through the time.
And it's so important to trust each other, and it's hard on everyone right now, especially because this is something we haven't experienced before. So it's more important than ever to be able to communicate what our issues are so that we can resolve them.
Completely. Yeah. And then, when we trust each other, it gives us an ability to make really good decisions. So one of the things that I teach is called principled negotiation. And I walk clients through the steps of that. It's not mine. There's a book on it, How to Get to Yes. But I like to walk clients through those stages and those steps. And what I've seen is a complete change in how they make decisions. I have a client who a while ago had to go into some negotiations. And they were wondering, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my team? What does this mean for my colleagues? Is everyone in the organization going to negotiate the same way? Are they going to negotiate different ways? And as we walked through those negotiation strategies, she was able to be prepared to have these very difficult conversations in a way that she was clear about her principles. And that changed the whole negotiation for her. It got her and the people she was negotiating with on the same team. They were able to be talking about the same things in the same language. Not everyone got everything they wanted out of it, but post-negotiation, they're in a better collaborative space than they were pre-negotiation. So it just goes to show that when we're making decisions, it's really important that we approach it in a helpful way, a clear way, and that there are tools that can be used for that.
Definitely. Do you have an example for the last stage?
Yeah, for measuring outcomes. I have an example for that. So I was working with a construction company who went through a 9-month process to become an HGTV show. It was 9 months to be on Home and Gardens television. And it was just incredibly hard work for 9 months. They had to negotiate with the television company. They had to bring in a certain number of clients. They had to figure out what their clients' needs were and film it and keep everything on cost and on budget. And they were about 2 weeks away from finding out whether or not they were going to become a show. And we got them all together in the room, and we had to talk about measuring outcomes, because the stress of that, the pursuit of that, the work of that was just so much more than any of them expected. And so I asked them, I said, how do you make your best decisions? And they sat down and they wrote down how I make my best decision, and all their lists were different, completely different. But when they could see, like, oh, you make your best decisions like this. And then they realized, like, for example, one is a certain type of information ahead of time, especially in construction. And then they realized, oh, I didn't give you that information. Not ahead of time and barely on time. And then they're like, oh, that's why that moment was so stressful for us, because you weren't in a position to make your best decision, and neither was I. And then they realized, oh my goodness, we made it through this incredible, dream pursuit, because we care about each other, not because we're trying to make all this money, because if it was just about the money, we would have walked away, because this was so much work. This was so hard. And we weren't giving each other what we needed to be this as high-performing of a team as we could have been. So that was really good for them. They were able to reconnect, and they all worked together. The HGTV show didn't quite launch, which is part of the risk they took in the first place, but they all have standing working relationships, and they're actually serving more customers post all of this than they were before. So it's really wonderful to see. And they really had to talk about this measuring outcomes aspect of the cycle in order to re-engage and begin with respect and then trust and then decision-making and then cycle around.
It's really amazing. If our viewers wanted to get in contact with you to have some assistance mediating, how would they reach you?
Yeah, so we have a website, NightingaleResolutions.com, and all the contact information is on there. People can call me directly as well. Tara, I could provide my number to you via email. You could make it available.
Sure.
But yeah, email, hop on the website. I just posted a blog about respect with a different story. So if that interests people, they can hop on and see a different session on that topic and how that went.
And then you're going to be part of a webinar with Fresno State, CMTC, and San Joaquin Valley Manufacturing.
Correct, yeah. So we're Team Performance and Family Business. It's going to be Thursday, September 24th at 4 o'clock. And I'm so thankful to the Institute for Family Business and the California Manufacturing Network and San Joaquin Valley Manufacturing for Alliance for co-sponsoring this event where I'll be speaking, and I will be diving into these four with more than stories. I will be offering some tools so that you can, in your own way, begin to keep track of this cycle and use those tools and walk through with people.
And if our viewers wanted to sign up to join that, how would they do that?
So the Institute for Family Business has an Eventbrite page that you can log in, but I will also be making all of this available to you, Tara, this flyer and everything, and then they can look for an email from you.
Well, thank you for joining me today, Tim. I'll make sure to add your information after we talk and let our viewers be able to see it. And I look forward to being able to work with you again.
Thank you so much, Tara. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too.
Make sure to sign up through the Craig School Institute of Family Business through their Eventbrite. And this is in collaboration with California Manufacturing Association and San Joaquin Valley Manufacturing Alliance. Again, it's going to be on September 24th. That's a Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. One of our other sponsors today is Safe Food Alliance. When it comes to food safety, they've got you covered. Drop in and see them at their Food Safety Center in Kingsburg or visit them online at safefoodalliance.com for their 360-degree suite of food safety services. My next guest is Natalie Rainer of Keller and Heckman LLP, and she will be discussing how to mitigate risks through food packaging. Natalie?
Hi, Tara. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for joining me. And can you help our readers and listeners understand what's behind food packaging and the new technologies that...
Yeah, absolutely. So at Keller and Heckman, a large part of what we do is helping companies bring new food packaging technologies to market. FDA set up a system back in 1958 that included food packaging as potential food additives. So since the 1950s, there's been a mechanism for evaluating the potential migration of food contact substances to food, and then evaluating the safety of those exposures. And it's the same framework that's used for direct food additives. In the past, to get a new packaging technology to market, one would typically have to file a food additive petition. But about 20 years ago, that system was replaced with the Food Contact Notification System, or FCN program. And there's been over 2,000 FCNs filed since the beginning of that program. Many of them we've helped with. And that's the way that FDA now evaluates these new technologies. And what's really nice is that in the past, when you submitted food additive petitions, that review process would take several years. And now, once the FCN is submitted, it goes into effect automatically after 120 days, provided that FDA doesn't object. FDA often will come back with questions, and you've got 1 or 2 weeks to respond to those questions. And if you are able to respond adequately, then the filing becomes effective 120 days after after it was accepted. And so it's a great, really efficient program for tackling, innovative products and bringing them to market.
And a lot of the technologies that are more modern for packaging, a lot of the regulations are playing catch up now. Yeah,
it is interesting. Like 10 years ago, there hadn't been as large of a market for biopolymers, for example. So biopolymers are produced by microorganisms like bacteria. That was unheard of. And so FDA has had to think about how to address that kind of technology. And over the years, as many more companies get into this space, FDA has evolved in its thinking, like, what's the best food simulant to use when you're working with biopolymers? What's the worst case food simulant? Things like that. So, industry is developing, and FDA is, I think, rising to the challenge and learning, how to think about these new technologies and evaluate their safety.
What is one of the more interesting technologies that you've seen come into the fore?
Yeah, I certainly think that these biopolymers are really neat. It's such a, it's almost like science fiction, that you can have this beautiful clear material made, from something that a bacteria produced. That's really neat. I think we're seeing a lot of activity in the recycling space as well. So that's another way that FDA provides a resource to industry, is they voluntarily offer a letter of no objection program, whereby companies producing recycled material for food contact applications can write to FDA and describe the process for recycling. And then FDA will evaluate the sufficiency of that process to clean post-consumer recycled material, or even post-industrial material like rework material that was never out in the consumer's household. So that's another way that FDA has been looking at innovative technologies. And there's a number of letters of no objection for these recycling processes, and those are all up on FDA's website as well.
And it's always interesting to see options that are a little more environmentally friendly, especially because the packaging industry does get a lot of flack for using plastics that aren't necessarily biodegradable, unlike the bioplastics.
Right. And so, and there are programs in California that are maybe going to push food companies to start using recycled material in food packaging as well. And so it seems like the demand for recycled material is only going to increase. And so that's a really great service that FDA has been able to offer.
Is there anything you'd like to add before we close today and let people know how to get in contact with you and Keller and Heckman?
Yeah, thanks. So I'll give you my email address and my phone number. My email address is rainer@khlaw.com, and I'm available at 415-948-2821. And I would just encourage folks to reach out to experts in this space, because it is such a niche in terms of understanding how to evaluate a new packaging application. It's this complex combination of law and science, and our scientific staff. We've got chemists and toxicologists on staff that work with the attorneys to take this very multidisciplinary approach to evaluating these new technologies. So it's really good to make sure that you're thinking about your new packaging application with the right framework in mind.
Definitely. Thank you for joining, Natalie, and I look forward to sharing more of your contributed articles.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Our sponsor today is Dynamic Coatings Incorporated. They are FDA, USDA, OSHA approved. They have fast cure, antimicrobial, and they are compliant with all regulations. You can see them in Fresno, Sacramento, Los Angeles, or Oakland. Make sure to give them a call today and protect your flooring, as well as making it safe for your processing facility. And another one of our sponsors is Fine Print Plus. They're your source for printing, packing, and promotion. They have graphic design, prints and copies, custom apparel, promotional items, parcel service, and they just recently started a will call and delivery service. So if you have anything up to 8,000 pounds, they can store it and deliver it for you if you need a intermediary. Make sure to call them at 559-237-4747. Email them at graphics@fineprintplus.com, or go to fineprintplus.com/quote and ask for a quote. And I'm here with my third guest. This is Neil Knaak of Agproz, and he will be discussing how his application provides agricultural sales and marketing data to your fingertips. Hi, Neil.
Hey, Tara, how are we doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
Oh, excellent. It's a beautiful day.
So can you give our watchers and listeners a little background of what Agproz is and yourself?
Absolutely. So Agproz is myself and my partner, John Crum, who's the founder of the company. We basically set out to kind of help solve our own problem at the time, and that was really how do we effectively kind of market to our clients, which is typically growers or agricultural professionals. And throughout the different companies we worked with, there was just a big lack of good tools that could help empower us to do our job. Not only bring the products and services we have to the market, but also how to best serve our growers and clients that we worked with, because they're, let's face it, they're just really busy individuals. And so to be, hate to say pester, but, get in front of more than that may not be a fit, that's a challenge. So we always felt, knowledge is the key to power. Basically, what that means is, if you have the best information and you're able to effectively, deploy it in your business sector, you're going to win. And so, having a great product, having a great service is like one piece of the pie, but then getting into, getting to the market, how do you effectively do that in your job is really what we set out to kind of best it. So Agproz it's a software kind of solution that it's an app and a desktop version. So our users use it to kind of help their sales team. Say if they get a new individual or person that comes onto the team, historically from the jobs I worked at, had a great product solution, and I was excited, and ready to kind of get it to market and grow it. But, outside of kind of giving me a truck and maybe like this, here's your area you're selling, that's about it. And so there's a pretty big gap there on how to get a new rep, especially when he's excited and ready to go and go help more growers and help more people in the industry. So so a tool like this actually helps them to be able to, focus in on who's important. You can see, different crop types, who grows what, and then there's filtering criteria on our solution that helps you kind of hone in the regions. So you're not just kind of driving down every driveway or, going all over the valley, when really you can hone in to the guys that are a best fit for you and you for them. And so it saves you time, saves them time, and it's just kind of winning the process.
And what kind of growers do you have the data for?
Right now, anybody farming in California, and we're expanding to some other states soon here. We got a lot of our clients are kind of bigger companies, and they have managers up in Washington or Oregon or Arizona, and they're saying, hey, we need, this is working great here. We need to get this in other regions. So we are absolutely getting there. It's on our roadmap, and I think we'll be there probably within the year, at least a handful of those states for sure.
It's a great expansion for that area because we definitely need more information to help growers and help the people trying to help them. Absolutely.
So on top of that, we also do direct mail marketing, which we found to be kind of an interesting piece. We had a client who was already doing it, so physically sending out flyers to the target audience. And so they asked, hey, could we give it a try? So we went out, and it turned out to be a pretty effective tool. Marketing is a nice kind of gentle way of getting in front of, your ideal clients. A lot of guys now, especially, the current environment, we saw the close down a lot of our trade show events. So a lot of these companies are needing kind of an extra medium to reach the growers, excuse me. And we're finding this to be quite effective. So for example, a grower could say, a client could say, hey, I have this, the solution. I need to get in front of every almond, pistachio, and walnut guy in the Kern County. And really they need to be a grower within, a certain acre range. So we can then pull the data. We have a printer we're partnered with, and a graphics team. And so we can actually pull this together and then direct market to, your exact ideal client. So that's a service we offer as well, along with the software that empowers sales reps in their territory.
Definitely. You not only provide the contacts, but you qualify them ahead of time for your customers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if our viewers want to get in contact with you, how would they reach you?
Sure. So, we're on a lot of the social networks. Easiest is just through the website, of course. So that's, www.agproz.com. I'm also pretty heavily involved on LinkedIn, and we have an Instagram account that we're pretty active on. We're still kind of ag sales guys. And so I think it's an interesting kind of company culture. We're not just here to sell a product. We generally really care about the success of our clients. And I think it shows in a lot of the people that we get to work with and how that's growing. So we're really excited about the future. A lot of new products are coming. A lot of our clients are asking for a better way to track the sales flow process. So we have a CRM that's in the works, and not just and CRM is a customer resource management tool for those who don't know the acronym. But so not only will we have a tool that helps salespeople do their job better, but now we have the entire database of anybody farming or growing in California and can leverage the data to the system. And now we have a much more effective salesperson at almost any company.
It's definitely a very vital tool, especially when it's harder to get in contact with people with all the trade shows that we would normally be able to meet people face to face, especially with busy growers that aren't super available a majority of the time.
Exactly. Yeah. This is a different environment, and change is inevitable. It's not always positive, but I think if you if you search out kind of different tools, and I definitely, of course, it's it's a little biased, but check our stuff out. We're very happy to kind of show you our solution, how it works, because there's a lot more to kind of what we do. I'll just touch on two quick ones. You can actually, as a rep is working his territory, he can mark growers that his clients are already with. And so now on the map, it actually interacts. So then it starts changing color. Maybe he passes a farm and can't get to them today, but he can mark them as a prospect. So our system is not only totaling those numbers, but it's also color coding them on the map. So now when he's planning his day, he's going out trying to see where he can be most effective. He can look at the areas, he's either strong in, areas he needs to work on, or, figure out the balance between the two. So a lot of just interesting tools that kind of help empower sales guys to do the best job they can.
Definitely. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close for the day?
Just to say, hey, it's we serve a great industry. I mean, farming is just it's a wonderful industry. And so for those out there who might be struggling with sales or marketing, reach out. We'd be happy to help. If you got a strong product and you're good on service, we definitely want to connect and see where else we can help. I mean, between me and my partner, it's 25 years of ag, experience in sales. And so we can help and we'd like to connect. So reach out and, according links.
Thank you, Neil.
You bet. Thank you, Tara.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye. And our final sponsor for today is Valley Will Call. They offer industrial pickup and delivery service. They're serving the greater Fresno area. They are a Darren Gibbs industrial company. Make sure to reach out to them at contact@valleywillcall.com or give them a call at 559-312-4544 or contact Darren Gibbs directly at 559-351-3280 or contact@darrengibbs.com. And now we will have a moment of silence for our Black Lives Matter community.